Modeling parametric windows, if done correctly, is one of the somehow complex families to work on. So this time we're going to create a single parametric wooden window to see how it should be done. To start, we are going to create a new family in window category. So for that, we need to go to File, New Family, and then select Window in this part. Before we start modeling, decide if you want to do it in interior side or in exterior side. There is no difference between them, but this way you know where you should go when you want to change something. Also decide if you want to work on left or right side. I will select interior side, so I'm going to close this exterior and also this view, and I'm going to open this left view too. So we're going to start with the interior side, and in here first thing we are going to create is a frame. It's not for the window itself, but it covers around it, and for that we are going to use sweep. Then in this part we are going to first create its path. So I'm going to click on this part, and with a rectangle I'm going to create a shape in here. Now I can align these lines with these reference planes simply like this. We don't need to lock them anymore, and that's it. We can hit finish and then go to the left view. Now for its profile, we are going to create it in this side. This is the base of the window, so we are going to create and connect everything to this reference plane. For that, we need to go to create and create some reference planes in these parts. I need one in here, another one in this part, and two more on two sides of these wall. Then to connect all of these things to this one, we need to create a dimension from this one to here, and from this part to here. Let me make it a little bit smaller, and we are going to create two more dimensions between these reference planes and this wall. If you can't find this blue line in here, the edge of the wall, you just need to press tab, and then you can select it too. Press tab again, and for this part too. Now for the size that we are going to have in here, I want this part to be something between 4 or 5 centimeter. Let's go with 4, and then I'm going to select it and lock it. For the top part, we are going to go with 15 millimeter. So I'm going to create it on 15 and then simply select the dimension and lock it. For these two parts, again, we are going to go with just 15 like this, and also for this part, and then we can lock both of them, this one and also this one. Now we can create the profile. So I'm going to use this pick line, and I can now select this line, this one, this edge, this part, and here, and last part is this one. Also, we need another one in here, which we are going to split in two parts to use it for here and also for this part. Now we can trim everything together like this, and also this part, and the last part is here. This is the profile that I'm going to use for the frame of the window, for the frame around the window, and then we want to keep it very simple like this. If you want, you can add even more details. You can create fillets in these parts or add more sections and parts to here. I'm going to hit finish, and if we go to 3D view, in this part we can see the path, and also we can see the profile in here. I'm going to hit finish, and now we have a frame around the window. Let's check it before anything else. I want to put this height on 1.5, apply. Okay, the width, I'm going to put it on 1.2 and apply. Okay, let's also go to ref level and see if it is going to be always in here, because we are going to use this window on different walls with different thicknesses. So if we change this and put it on some other sizes, so now that everything is in its place, we know that what we created is correct, and we can move to the next part. Let's go to interior side. For the window itself, we are going to use the same method. We are going to use sweep with a path and also with a profile. But since the profile is a bit complex and we're going to use a few profiles together, we can create it in another family and load it to here. So for that, I'm going to go to File and create a new family in the Profile section on this part. For the profile of this window, we are going to use a reference. I'm going to load my image into Revit. You just need to drag it in here. If you search for a wooden window profile, you can find sections like this and you can use one of them if you want to practice this window. We have this image in here and we need to place it in this part to start creating based on this. But before that, we need to check the scale, check the size first. So for that, I'm going to first select the image and then click on this scale. From this point to here, it should be 13 centimeter, but it is 2.1 meter. So to fix that, we need to make it smaller. You can either do it like this or just use the numbers in here. I'm going to put it exactly on 13 centimeter and okay. Now this is the correct size and we can place it in here. If we haven't created the first part, the frame around the window, we could place this one in this corner and start creating the rest of the profile. But since we have 15mm offset on that part because of that frame, we need to consider that in this part first and then create this profile on top of that. So for that, I'm going to go to create and create a reference line in here. We are going to set it on exactly 15mm and then with a dimension, I'm going to fix it in this part. Lock it and let's make it a little bit smaller like this. Now we can place this exactly in this corner. So I'm going to select it and move it from this point to here. Let's adjust it better like this. Okay. Now this profile has multiple sections, multiple parts, as you can see. This is the main part. This is the main frame of the window, which is wooden, and also we have another part. This is for the openable part of the window, and also we have these ceilings in here in all of these parts, and also this metal profile that we are going to add to. After that, we have these parts in here for the glazing and these parts which are supporting the glazing, supporting the glass, keeping it in its place. So we're going to start with these wooden parts first and then create this part and then here and the glazing. Before we start creating the profile, you see that each time I hover my mouse over to this image, we see these highlight in here and sometimes it's really annoying. Also, we might accidentally drag and move this image away and that way the final result won't be accurate. So to prevent that, we are going to first select the image and pin it in itself so we can't drag it or move it away. And then to prevent these highlight, we don't want to see it like this. We want to just have a background. We want to have this image as background, as reference. And for that, I'm going to just uncheck this part. You see it says select pinned element. If we uncheck it, we can't select anything. We can't select pinned element. So this way we just have it in here as a very simple background and we can just use all of these things. Now, to start modeling the profile, we can go to create and with this line, we're going to start creating the shape of this wooden part. So I'm going to use this line from this point exactly to here. I'm going to add the fillets later. I want to just create these lines as accurate as possible. To here. Down to this part and then here, and now we can connect it to this part. Okay, so for the fillets, I'm going to go back to create, use this line, and with these fillets I'm going to create corners in these parts. I want to just first create these things in here and then set the size, set the radius. So I'm going to create everything in this part first. We don't need to create anything in here, but let's just create a very simple one. Okay, and the last part, I am going to create another fillet for this part. These two edges also have fillets. If I delete this line, you can see that these parts have fillets. But since we have limits for creating a smaller pieces, a smaller lines, if I create fillets in these parts, we will face with so many errors. So I will just leave these like this. I'm going to just move it a little down to here, and that's all. For these parts, I'm going to set it on 2. Okay, I think is good. Also for here, let's go with 2 or maybe 1. For this part again, let's go with 2. Okay, the same for here, 2. We can go with 3, I guess, for this part. And for these two parts, I'm going to go with 3 as well. I mean 3 millimeter. So this is the profile that we are going to load first into the window family. For that, we need to first save this family and then load it into the project. And we don't need to load this image into the family, into the window family. So we need to delete this first and then save the family and load it into the main family. For that, I'm going to uncheck this so we can select this image, and also I'm going to unpin it so we can delete it. Now I'm going to go to File and save this profile as Profile A. Now I'm going to load it into the family, and okay, now we have it in this part. Let's go to interior side, and as I said, we are going to use sweep again. Go to create with this sweep. For the path, I'm going to use this rectangle again on all of these lines, and I'm going to align them with these reference planes. Now we can hit finish. Now for the profile, since we have loaded into here, we can select it in this part. You can see the A profile. If I choose it and go to left view, we can see it in this part. This is the base of the window where we created the profile of this frame. So what we need to do in here is to obviously rotate and flip it to set it exactly where we need it to be. I'm going to first try 90 degree. Let's flip it, maybe minus 90 degree. Okay, it is correct. Let's check it with the profile. Okay, that's right. Now, as you can see, this profile is connected to the center of this wall. And if we create the rest of it in this part, it might be on the outside of this window, which we don't want it. So if we move it to one of the sides, maybe to this part or the other side, it would be much better. We would have the whole window inside the wall. For that, you could either go to ref level and create some reference planes in this part, and then while you are in interior view, set your work plane on those reference planes and create your profile on those parts. Or you can be in the left view in here and then just move it around with these axes. Obviously, the second way is much easier, so I'm going to select the profile, and let's go with this one. I'm going to move it just 5 centimeters to this part. I think the placement is good. It is kind of in the center, so we are going to continue with this. Let's go to 3D view. This is the path of the sweep, and this is the profile, and if we hit finish, we will have another profile in this part. We can't see it yet, but we are going to check everything when we create all of the profiles. So now let's go back to the profile that we just created. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to have this image back. Let's select it and first pin it, and also uncheck this part so we have it again. I'm going to delete this whole profile. We don't need it anymore, and now we are going to work on the other side. Let's go to create, and with this line I'm going to start from here. It's a little too much, let me put it on 5. Okay, from this part to here, then to this part. As I said, we are going to ignore so many of these parts. Let's continue with here. I'm going to create an arc for this part, so we can skip like this, and then to this part, to here. As I explained before, we have limits for creating a smaller part, so we probably need to skip some of these parts. For example, in here I'm going to create a very straight line like this to this part, to here, here, and a little bit outside. These two are not aligned together, to here. I'm going to just follow this black line. Okay, I hope these two are connected. Let me just trim them like this. Now, before creating fillets, I want to place them where they need to be. Maybe move them around a little bit so they are exactly in their place. To here, for example, this part to here. Okay, we need to make this part right, and also connect these two together. Move them a little bit to here like this, and also this part here, and this part like this, and also to these parts. You can create them a little bit bigger if you want, if you face with like errors. I'm going to show you what I mean. You probably see them in here. And for these two parts, I'm going to go to create, use this line, and create an arc from this point to here like this, and also for the other side like this. And okay, for these parts, let's go to create, use this line, fillet. I'm going to create something like this, and we probably need to connect these two parts with just a simple line like this. Okay, and then simply trim them. Okay, we can delete this part, and I think this is much better. Again, we need to go to create, use this fillet for this part. Then for here, obviously I'm going to ignore these smaller parts, and in here we need another one on the other side, and also in this part I don't want to create one for here, but for here we are going to create another one, and lastly for here. So again, as we did for the other part, I'm going to uncheck this part, select this image, unpin it, and then delete it. Next, we need to go to File, save this as another profile. Let's call it Profile B, and okay. Now I can load it into the family number 1, and okay. In here we face no error, so everything is okay and we can use it. Let's go to interior side and to the create section with another sweep and the path with this rectangle from this part to here. Align everything with these lines, with these reference lines, and then hit finish. For its profile, we are going to select profile B, and let's check it from the left view. So you remember we moved this family 5 centimeter. We need to do the same for this part too. First, let's fix it in its place, and then we are going to load it. For its angle, let's check 90 degree, maybe minus 90 degree. Okay, and then we just need to flip it. So I think this is the correct way. Okay, and then we are going to select it and move it 5 centimeter, minus 5 centimeter. Okay, now it is in its place, and we can go to 3D view and check it one more time. Okay, and we can hit finish. So this is the second part. This is the part that we can open the window, and we are going to go to the next part. I'm going to press Ctrl Z in here, select the image, pin it, and then check this part. For the next part, since we already have this profile in here, I think we can use it to create these parts, because it will be hard to create them separately. So I'm going to delete this part, and also here I am going to delete this part too, and also here. So I'm going to just simply select everything else like this and delete them all. Then also I'm going to delete all of these parts, and then we can go to create, use this line exactly from this part to here down to this part, and also repeat it for the other side too, like this. These are two other parts that I'm going to add to the window, and I want to add these parts too. The material of these parts are different, but I'm going to create all of them together. So we need a rectangle in this part and another shape in here. Like this. And okay, uncheck this part, select it, unpin this image, delete it, and then save this part as family C, and okay, and then load it into the main family. So again, we had no errors. We can continue with interior side, go to create. Again, we are going to use this sweep with this sketch path, and with rectangle I'm going to create a shape in this part and align all of these lines with these reference planes. It's very important to align and lock everything with the reference planes, because we are working on a parametric window, and we need to be sure that the length and the height, the width of this window are working correctly. So make sure to align and lock everything this way. I'm going to hit finish, and then for the profile we can select this C profile. Let's go to left view, and it is in here. Let's rotate it minus 90 degree. Okay, and flip again, and also move it minus 5 centimeter to here, so it is exactly in the center. And now we can go to 3D view and finish, and we can see it, but it is in this part. It is here. Okay, let's go back to the profile family. In here I'm going to press Ctrl Z and delete everything we have in this part. Let's check this part and also pin it in here. Okay, so the next part is about these ceilings, these blue parts in here, and also this metal section. I don't want to model these parts because we will face with a lot of errors. This is a very a small section, and first of all it is the same thing. You just need to sketch it if you want to add it, and also if you face with errors you can ignore some parts, as we are going to do for this part. So I'm going to go to create with this line. I want to just create a shape like this with none of these details in here. I'm going to use this line and start from here to this part down to here like this. We can create a line. You see, you can't create a small lines. we have limits in here. I'm going to create the line to this part and another line to here to this part. I don't want to create this section to here, down to this part here, and then down to here. I will ignore this part too, then to this part, down to here, back in here, and then okay, we have a curve in this part. I'm going to create just a line to this part. Let's go up to here. In this part, I'm going to ignore this again, down to here, and then up in this part. If we zoom out, we can't create them correctly. If we zoom in, we can't see where they are. I will just follow this black line like this, and then we can fix it later with the rest of the parts to here. I'm going to trim these two parts together. Let's go to create and use fillet. For this part, I'm going to create something like this. I don't want to create fillet for these corners, but I'm going to create one for here, and then another one maybe for this part. This is very obvious. This part is just a line, and another one for here, one more for this part. Okay, and I think we are good to go. I want to also delete this part, and instead of that, create an arc from this point to here like this, and another one for this part to here like this. Okay, now I'm going to just uncheck this image and then unpin it, delete it. This is what we have. To check if you have created correctly, you can just hover your mouse over one of these edges and then press tab. If everything is selected, if everything is highlighted, it means that your profile is connected together and there's no extra part or open part. So you can save it and load it to your family. I'm going to save it as profile D and then load it into my family. In here, we can go to interior side, again with sweep, sketch path, rectangle. In this part, I'm going to align them with all of these reference planes. Did you notice for all of the rectangles that I was creating, I created from the base to here? This is because I want this profile section to be at the bottom, at the base of it. So each time we want to work on the profile, we have all of them in here. Each time we add a profile to this sweep, it is in here, so we can consider it with all of the other parts and create it at the best place and match it with other parts. So this is another point that you need to consider. I'm going to hit finish, and then for the profile we can select D. It is in here, so let's rotate it -90 degree and also flip it again. Move it -5 centimeter and it is in its place. Let's hit finish, and if we go to 3D view and put this on fine and also consistent color, we have all of the families in here perfectly. The next part we are going to work on is the glazing section, is the glass for this window. For that, we are going to go to ref level because we can't create it in the left view or in the interior view because it is very hard. So we need to go to ref level, and to see everything better, I'm going to create a section in this part, either to this side or to the other side, it doesn't matter. I'm I'm going to go to this section view, and in here we can see everything much better. So we are going to create the glazings in this part, in this side, and also in here. This time we are going to use extrusion. So let's go to create and click on this extrusion. It asks for setting work plane. Since setting a work plane is here is a bit challenging, I want to use a trick. So let's go back to left view, and in here we can create extrusion. And since it is not asking for any work plane, we can go back to section view and create what we want in here. Now we have the work plane on the left view, but we are creating it in the section. So there's nothing wrong with this. I'm going to create a rectangle in this part and another one in here. So now we can just simply align them with these parts. I'm going to align this part with here, this part with this profile, and the base I'm going to align it with this line. And also we are going to repeat it for the other side too, all of these lines, and also this part. For the top part, obviously we have one of these profiles in here too, so I'm going to simply click on this part, and then since we have this multiply alignment active, I can just come back in here and click on all of these lines, and they are perfectly aligned and locked. Now we can hit finish and we can go to the interior view. This extrusion, this glass section, this glazing are attached from the top and bottom, so they are fixed from these two parts. But we also need to set them from this side and also the other side. As we saw in the left view, it is very hard to align them with in these type of situations. So we need to go to interior view, and in here I'm going to create another section. Let's set it on detail view so we can create a section like this. And now if we go to this part, we can see the same parts in here. We can see the same profile. We know how it works. We know where we should connect them together. So this is the glazing. I'm going to move it to this part, and also for the other side I'm going to move it closer to here. Now we just need to align them with this part and also with the other side in here. Okay, now let's go to 3D view and see it in here. We are going to check it first. Let's go to family type. I'm going to change the height on 1.2, apply. Okay, the width on, let's go with 80 centimeter, apply. Okay, everything is working correctly. Let's also check the sill height. Let's put it on 50 centimeter, apply, and okay. This window also needs a handle, so I have loaded my handle in here. And if we go to create and this component, we can place it in these parts. Let's go to ref level, and I want to place it in here for now. Let me rotate it and place it in here. I want it to be exactly on this edge, and to fix it there, I need to create a reference plane and then attach it to this center, to the center of this wall, and then attach this handle to that. We cannot attach anything directly to this part because this is the parametric section, and if we change it, we might face difficulties and inaccuracy when we want to change those dimensions, the height and the width. So I'm going to go to create and create a reference plane in this part. Then we need to measure this size from this center to here. Okay, let me make it a little bit smaller like this. Since we are in two decimal places, we have rounding in here. I also want to check it with another line from this part to here. It's 352, and I'm going to set this distance exactly on the same number, 352, and okay. Now I can just simply create another dimension between these two lines and then lock it here. Let me move it to this part, and then we can align this reference plane with this part of this handle. Also, we need to go to the interior side and move it up to here and fix it in this side too. For that, again, we need to create a reference plane in here between these two reference planes, the top part and the base. I'm going to make these two equal, so if we change the height of this window, we always have this handle in the center. Then I'm going to align this reference plane with this part, and also we need to align it to here too. So for that, I think it would be better to fix it in ref level. Create another reference plane in this part too. We are going to set it in somewhere in here. So I'm going to just create a dimension like this and simply fix it in here and lock it. Then I need to just align this reference plane with the center of this handle, so it will be always there. Before we load it into the project, I want to assign parameters for their materials too. So for this handle, I'm going to select it, and obviously it should have a material section in here. I'm going to click on this part and create a new parameter. Let's call it handle. Okay, and okay. For the other parts, we can go to this left view or maybe to the section. This part is much better. I'm going to select this part and this wooden part. These two are wooden sections, and for both of them I'm going to assign one parameter. Let's go with just simply frame. Also, this part was also a frame, so I'm going to use the same parameter for them, this one, and okay. This part was the metal section, and I'm going to assign another parameter for it. Let's call it metal, and okay, and okay. For these parts, we can go with another name. This part I think is the plastic section, so I will just call it plastic, or maybe it's not plastic, but let's just call it plastic. Okay, and the last part is the glazing, the glass section, this extrusion. Select it, and again, let's create another parameter for it and call it glass, and okay. Now we have everything in its place, and we can simply load it into our project. In here, I have this simple wall, and as you can see, I can place it in this part. So this is our window in here. I'm going to select it, and this is the interior side, this is the exterior side. Let's select it and go to its edit type. So for the frame, I am going to use a wood material, maybe one of these. Let's select this one, or maybe this one. I just want to change this color to something like this, maybe a little darker, and okay. For the glass section, I'm going to find a glass in here, maybe this one. Let's change this color to something darker like this, and also a bit less transparency. Then for the handle, again, I want to use the same wood material in here too. For the metal, let's see what we can find in here. Maybe this one. I want to have a brown metal, something like this, maybe bronze metal, maybe a color like this, and okay. And the last part for the plastic section, I can use this plastic in here, but with another color, again with something brownish, maybe this one, okay, and okay. Let's see how it looks in here. Okay, this is perfect. This is the section for the window, and as you can see, everything is working perfectly together. These are every part that we worked on, and this is the metal part, this is the wooden section. If we make it a little bit smaller, you probably see the patterns in here too. This is the glass section, and these are parts that are holding the glass. So this was everything you need to know about creating a fully parametric wooden window. If you are interested on this family or any other families that we have created on this channel, You can download them with the link in description. Thank you for watching until now, and I will see you next time.